Hello, everyone. Tyler Bryden here, CEO and co-founder of Speak AI, joined by the wonderful Arya. I'll let you do a quick intro of yourself, and then we'll jump into the call here today.
Okay. Hello, everyone. My name is Arya. I'm the business development executive here at Speak AI. I'm happy to be here with Tyler alongside some special guests that I will let Tyler talk about.
Yeah, we've got some AI meeting assistants in the room. I can hear one sec. I have one other special guest who looks like he's very interested in joining. I'll be right back.
Okay.
I will say we're a AI companion company, but they're always the love for the furry dog. I can barely see him in the corner. He's sitting in his little dog bed. That's a new addition to the room. Tasia, you can sit down and relax here now. But we'll talk about the AI meeting assistants. There's an internal competition going on right now. Who can design the best assistant? We don't have a formal competition publicly, but if you are watching this video and you have any feedback on which one is cutest the way that we're measuring it is I don't know what.
I think that's the right measurement for it. The cutest meeting assistant will win.
I don't know, probably Ari, you don't have your original one that you designed. Do you have that on
That was
hand
that was
somewhere?
not
You
no,
don't want to
that was
talk about
not
it, yeah.
no, no. Like any innovation, it starts from somewhere, right?
Exactly. Constant progress. We'll say the default Speak AI team companion here. This is if you're jumping on a call with us, you'll see it in the call. I don't want to give away the prompting too much, but one of it was very important that he was looking right at us. He was smiling. He was watching intently. The specific prompt did mention Costa Rica being in the background. So this is Costa Rica vibes here. And then I said, I need one more slight variation for mine personally, which is Isla. Fun fact, Isla almost became the name of Speak AI at one point. It did not. I don't know if that's a good thing or not. I still love it and it's still so cute. And Isla is also in Costa Rica, but she's got some chai and she's writing notes down. And then Arya, I'll let you touch on your meeting mate here, and then we'll kick them out after this. We've spent enough time with these little characters here.
Yeah. The design has started from something very horrific. I think like when I was like on calls with clients, they were shocked, but they're polite enough to not say anything to me. But you have seen the progress, and right now my design is basically I wanted to tell our customers that we're from Canada. So I gave like a Canadian winter vibe to it with like a Canada Goose winter coat and everything. But that's basically the story behind my meeting assistant. I feel like that represents our company, and also like we are Canadian. We are also, I think, cute, same
It's
as the
true.
meeting
We'll take it.
assistant.
Yeah, we'll self-assess. I think.
Yeah,
Well, the one disclaimer or the one caveat is that we've got the warmest non-snowy winter I've ever seen in Canada. Here, we're like double-digit
it's 15 degrees right
temperatures.
now. Anywhere from the world that you're tuning in right now in Toronto, it's 15 degrees, and it's insane for a Canadian winter to be 15 degrees.
And Tage is in the back there. He is battling his bed for more comfort.
Yeah.
Uh, it's never comfortable enough. I'm going to get him a more royal bed at some point here. He deserves it because you can tell he's obviously not satisfied with this one. Okay, let's move on. No one wants to hear us ramble too deeply about this, although we are obviously having a lot of fun. This is our second edition of What's New. This graduated from Tasha's going hard. Graduated from the series called Office Hours that we did in 21, 22. We pause that for a second while we work through just a ton of things from a business perspective, and we've come and seen the light on the other side and are back to doing some updates. And I've also seen the team grow that it's almost impossible not to do these videos because there's so much like crazy stuff happening within Speak. And we also want to keep everyone informed on all the changes and updates. We will, in a second, momentarily, I'll be pulling up a little slide deck, but we'll also be walking through the product itself. And I hope for anyone who has visited the product, there's two sort of audiences here. One who maybe is coming across Speak for the first time ever and they say, wow, this product looks pretty good. And then there's people who had experienced the previous design of Speak with the bright highlighter greens and these dark navigation menus and stuff. And I hope if you've come back in, you've seen a pretty dramatic change and you're happy with that change. So we'll touch a little bit into the redesign of Speak AI, but lots of other things that we'll jump in here today. Arya, I guess before we go into the slide, any last thoughts or any notes from your perspective?
No, not nothing much. The only thing I would add is that I have seen a lot of positive feedback about our redesign, and Even personally, because I use the Speak every day. We are also internal users of Speak. And just one feedback that I can also provide for ourselves is that it's much more easier to navigate now throughout the whole platform, as well as it's less frustrating for my eyes to look at those bright green colors that we had on the platform before. But now it's a huge improvement. I highly advise anyone who has ever signed up for Speak to just log back in and try to see it for themselves, what we are talking about.
Yeah, and we'll touch on this a little bit later in the presentation here today and in this session. So when I was first starting Speak AI, Vatzel and I too, we were working from a basement with no windows, no light. And there's a connection here, which is you don't realize that you're not getting any light. You don't realize how dark and desolate things are until you move into an office with windows and light. And I think that's a similar experience I've had with the design of Speak. Now using it in this much more minimal design form, how much more just intuitive and nice it actually feels. So I am too a user of Speak every single day. Absolutely love our own software, which I know there's some sort of selfish part of that, but it's finally meeting this original vision that I think Vatzel and I had. And that's a very exciting and rewarding feeling as someone who spent a lot of time and effort building it. So speaking, I want to touch on this little line here, spreadsheets for language data. We have not formalized this. This is not necessarily the core language we use, and you can go on the site and see how we describe Speak, but we're going to walk through some of the changes here today. And this idea of spreadsheets for language data has really started to resonate with me because what we're seeing is a lot of people take stuff that previously had existed in Google Sheets or Excel, but then find these limitations and these challenges specifically when they're dealing with language data. And that could be, again, unstructured text information, CSV data, but also that is audio video, that is transcripts. And what's great, maybe you can have a transcript in a CSV and you can run some sort of analysis on it quantitatively in a spreadsheet or an Excel sheet or a Google sheet. But if you then want to play back a specific moment or you want to do all these transformations of the data, you really start to hit these limitations. And so this message, this idea, this concept is really, again, connecting with me. And I think you're going to continue to see this proliferate through the platform. And the last note, I'll touch on this idea of the spreadsheets for language data, which is Excel and these tools. These are some of the most widely used and incredible tools. And it's almost like a toolkit that allows you to work with data in all these different ways. And the flexibility within the platform is something we've always been very proud about. But I think that's been taken into another level over the last few months, and specifically what we're going to talk about here today. So any thoughts from your side, Arya, on spreadsheets for language data? I know I haven't pitched that as any formal tagline for us, but your thoughts on this?
Definitely. I think there has been some times, right, that we even ourselves, we are trying to figure out something on Excel or Google Sheet, but the limitations that they have, right, it gets frustrating. But I really like this idea of having an all-in-one solution for all of your language data. That's one thing that I tell our clients when I'm on the call with them, that like, it really doesn't matter what sort of like language data that you want to analyze. So one of the beauties of Speak is that you can, for example, upload multiple different formats of media, multiple different like language data, from CSV file to audio file to video file, from your meetings, interviews, whatever. And then you have this knowledge library, or this library of like your language data, that you have the options to individually assess them, whether they're CSV or audio, video, or whatever. Or you have the option to assess them or analyze them as a bulk of like data and have that like global view over them. And we have seen a lot of like people actually, when they hear about this, they get so excited. Like
Yeah.
they're like as if something that just got unlocked for them that was not possible before.
Yeah, we'll touch into a few of these points as we go. I'll move on to the next slide. If you checked out our last session, you've seen this, but just some of the great organizations that we have worked with, continue to work with, and we continue to see this sort of list of really amazing teams grow every single day. So it's a lot of fun. We had a dark ages when we first started Speak, where we were trying to share what we were doing, and it was, a difficult thing to articulate. But as we've gotten better, and as also the technology has matured, and also I think as the world's understanding of this type of technology has matured, this capacity for us to articulate the value of Speak and this technology in general has improved. So very happy with that. And formally, we kick off this idea of what's new in Speak February 2024. addition. We hope everyone had a great January, a great start to the year, and we're going to continue working away and making this platform better for you. So we have this idea now. You can see a bit of the new design in this. We'll be walking through the platform at a couple points here today, so we'll be able to see this in action versus a static screenshot. And you can still see there's a lot of data and things going on, but overall, that bright highlighter green, that dark navigation was replaced. And really, we have tried to go for a little bit more of this minimal white light approach. We do not have dark mode enabled yet. Sorry, everyone. That allows you to work with the data and make it, even when you are looking at a lot of information, much more digestible. So I'll click just to do a little look at the before. Here you can see, oh my God, it hurts my eyes. I don't even want to look at it until now. And so this is the redesign dashboard. And we're still very open to feedback. We're going to continue to improve. I look and I see, hey, this thing's coming off the sidebar and this one's got 2 lines instead of 1. But overall, I think it's a pretty dramatic redesign and already making a major impact on the positive user and customer experience within the system. Any notes? I know we touched on it a bit at the front because we were super excited about, but any last notes on this design? And again, we'll jump into the app at one point here, and so we'll be able to see it a little bit more in action.
No, I think I already talked about the new design and how great feedbacks that we have received. And even personally, I feel it's much better than before. There is always room for improvement. The only thing I would like to add is that we are very open to receiving feedbacks from you. So if there is anything that you see that are missing or like you wanted to get improved or anything like that, feel free to reach out to our team. We are here to listen, and we'll try our best to implement the best practices and the best designs that we can.
And I'll give myself some feedback right now, which is I viewed this slide deck in a smaller format. And when I expand it into full view, this picture is blurry. So Tyler, your screenshot work could be improved. Although the app, when you log into it, is not blurry. So we'll jump into another core concept in Speak, which is the idea of fields. And there is another module in Speak called Custom Categories and Insights. And I'm happy to share some more resources on that. But there's a pretty specific difference between that. And so what are fields? If you've used any sort of advanced data analytics platform or really any email management platform, you've got this idea of columns or fields that you are trying to manage. So in this case, what we're finding in Speak is you're a researcher and you've done a bunch of interviews, just as one example, and you have the household income and you have the demographic profiles of those people. And previously within Speak, and I can jump into the app and look at this a little bit here now, if we were to do it, we would actually use this module tags. And so you would populate that information into tags, which was great. It still allowed you to do some filtering and analysis, but for example, it wasn't explicitly labeled age range. So you couldn't use that as a filter, or you couldn't label it as a number, or you couldn't label it as a currency, you couldn't label it as a location. And so when we go now into Speak, you can see there's fields. There's actually a list of sample fields, and these are ones that we've seen people request and share as valuable fields for us. And you can literally just add them to the list. And you can also then create your own fields. As an example, I'll just do one. I could say customer lifetime revenue. So if you're maybe trying to analyze customer feedback, you could say, hey, here is how much revenue this customer has brought us in lifetime value. And you can actually say this is currency. You've now set up that field. And if you're uploading a file, you can manually add into this field. You can upload a CSV, which we'll talk about in a bit, or you can also even use the API to populate this field. And because it's a currency, you can also do some amazing analysis and filtering and say, I only want to look at customers who have made us more than 5,000 in revenue. And so it opens up all these incredible use cases. And that's not just on input and within Speak. We're also through the API and through Zapier or any of these other tools, we can send those fields over to it too. As example, if I want to send a magic prompt, run a magic prompt, and if you don't know magic prompt, we got some great resources on that. I want to get the response. I can have those fields and I can then send that information. I can populate a CRM. It really does open up a lot of capabilities within the platform. And We'll continue to educate and share opportunities and knowledge on this, but is a really core concept in sort of an analytics platforms. And it makes me feel at home after all this time in these platforms over the years. So that's my little brief on fields. I did show one example. I can now say, if I'm a researcher, hey, from these set of one-on-one interviews, I only want to analyze sessions with people aged 25 to 34 with a household income over 100,000 and who are located specifically in the United States. And that can all be managed through this fields. Anything that you want to touch on here, Arya, in the concept of fields?
No, I want to mention that how valuable this thing can be, right? You have already talked about it before, but also again, this really helps like our users to organize their data and better analyze it even than before. Because before we were just like having the tagging mechanism, and if you were asking people to, for example, put the geographical tag or like the age tag and stuff like that. But this is very more specialized, right? Now, like even like the formatting, if it's like currency, dates, or anything else, like you can basically customize it. And we have great examples in our sample fields that people can go and check it out and see which ones would be useful for them.
Yeah, I'll say the one other piece is it opens up a lot of different use cases. And I'll talk about one with a great customer and partner we've worked with for a long time. And Tasia's now realizing he's not comfy and he's trying to escape. So I'll work through this blurb and then I'll let him escape this prison that is his daddy's room. They were collecting this information that are coming from leads, and part of that information includes an email. And this team is actually spending 3 to 5 hours per day trying to draft these emails to be personalized. But through these fields, we can populate the email, we can run a magic prompt, and then because we have this field, we can pass that field through Zapier and dynamically insert that into the two, and then we can pass the magic prompt into the email draft. And we can also do, for example, subject line and automatically populate that. And we'll continue to concrete these examples, but the flexibility is not just necessarily in analysis. It's also about the input and where you want to send and how you want to structure data. And I think at a core level, we're seeing people have this unstructured language data or these tasks that they're trying to achieve, but they need to be able to restructure that information to finalize and fulfill the actual use case in the end. I'll let Tasia escape. I'm going to miss him. I will be back. Tasia's gone. He's safe. Okay, we'll move on to the next concept in Speak, which I think is highly related and really ties these few disciplines and pieces together. In general, we did some advertising and put some pages out about how you can analyze survey data and customer feedback and testimonials. And so we would have people come and upload CSVs into the system, but we required this pretty, depending on how complex that CSV was, this conversion process to get it into the format that you want it to be. And that was a really difficult task. And we actually saw a lot of people struggle to upload CSVs, or if they did, certain ones would fail or it wouldn't come into the format that they wanted. So with this CSV column mapping, what it allows users to do and you to do if you're coming in to speak with this type of data, and it can be audio and video data if you have URLs to media, but it can also be for this, basically any sort of survey or feedback or anything. You can just upload that CSV without any restructuring. You upload it, you map out the columns, and this allows you to, again, remove any of that friction or that difficulty on this upload. And this ties together with this fields concept, because during this process, if that field is not existent, you can create it directly in Speak and finish that upload process to make sure that it's smooth and successful there. So I will take a moment just to actually share like an example of how we would see this type of data. We would see something like this as a synthetic example, but we would then have to do this very specific formatting. This is now removed. So anyone who has said, Speak, we hate you for how you've made us do this, don't worry about it anymore. You can take the data like this. And then when you go into Speak, you can go into dashboard, you can hit CSV upload, you can choose, am I doing a text note or am I doing a media file? I have now taken that example and I can basically map those fields. So there's a few required ones that you need to do. And I haven't actually mapped all these fields or created all these fields myself. If I want to create the field, I can go in here. I can say first name. I can describe it. This one's pretty self-obvious, so I don't have to go too much there. Single line text, and then I can create. And when I do that, I can now map that field, which is wonderful. So that's how easy the process is. Not everyone has this many columns, but we try to do a pretty full stack examples, and I can basically go one by one, map these out, make sure it's successful, and really even choose where I want to send this data without requiring any folder IDs or anything like that. So very exciting. Once that's done and you've fulfilled all your required fields, you will be able to validate that mapping and then upload. And we've already seen an incredible success rate increase because of it. Any notes or thoughts from your side here, Arya, on the CSV upload mapping?
I think when we released this update about the field mapping for CSV file, it was just like a huge relief for me because the amount of time I spent, you as well, right, trying to help people to like how in order to how to put it into the exact format that we were asking. And honestly, it makes, so much sense that now we are like providing field mapping, and now they can just basically create their own unique fields or just map it to whatever fields that they already predefined, and they can literally upload it simply into Speak now. They don't require any sort of a special format now. It's just like their CSV file, any sort of like survey, reviews, basically feedback, they can just upload into Speak and get it like analyzed. But I would say that like this one was a huge relief for me personally.
And you can see as Arya was doing, that was a successful upload, and those will process. You can see immediately, you can see it upload. And as they finish the analysis, you'll start to see the sentiment. So that was a full walkthrough. That sort of closes our chapter on CSV uploads. I think we now move into a crucial concept. I'd actually let you go through this, Arya, because I know you're now a prompt engineer and a prompt master. So maybe any thoughts on the magic prompt templates?
Yeah, sure. I think this was one of the very major updates that we had for Speak, because all the conversations that we had with people, one problem that we identified is that the idea of like blank canvas, right? That we are just like giving you full freedom to test out with any prompt that you want. But the problem is that not everyone is very proficient, or they're like, not everyone is like an AI prompt engineer or expert. I am right now because like I've helped, I don't know, hundreds of our customers in order to make sure that they're good with the prompting that they're doing. But now with this idea of the custom templates that we have, you can basically select what's your position or what type of job you're doing, as well as what type of like data type you're working on. And then Speak is giving you suggestions about, okay, what are the most common, or what are like some of the useful prompts that you can use in order to analyze your data. So resolves that issue with having just a blanket screen and starting fresh. But I want to add something that even I would say that don't stop there. Don't stop just at the templates that we provided to you. These are like great things as a start, as a beginning, but we always suggest, and we suggest that you always need to expand upon the prompting that you're doing, right? That the more sophisticated and more detailed you put in your prompt, definitely you are going to get more accurate and better answers. You're going to continuously seeing more and more templates, more magic prompt templates added to this, like to different categories. As like right now, I'm like, speaking to many of our users and get their ideas about some of the prompts that they love or they are currently like using on a daily basis. So keep an eye on that. Also, if you have any feedback about any of them, or you feel something needs to be changed or need to be added, again, we're here to listen. And definitely, if it's something that is like useful for the rest of our users, we are going to add it to our magic prompt templates.
Yeah, exactly. And did walk through a little bit of that flow there. You can select by the job title and then the actual data type. We're going to continue to add to this library. And if you have some requests, as Arya said, let's see if we can formalize those and put those in. And those might even populate and let other people derive value, which is awesome. So I can just click use this. If I do want to customize this anymore, I have that opportunity. And you can also decide, hey, I want to use this assistant type. We've talked about this in other videos. And if you want, check out some resources on the assistant type. And you can also say, hey, I only want to analyze the moderator, and I only want to analyze people who are part of this collective, and customize that even further. So incredible flexibility within that framework. I'll also add there is now this idea of use prompts where you can see your most used prompts across the system. And then all you have to do is hit this little toggle and you'll see the most popular ones and even how many times you've used it, which I think is awesome. I'm very excited about this. I will say there's some interesting ones that we're going to continue to add. As an example, you're a researcher and you want to say, hey, does this validate my hypothesis? And what you can see in the prompt is insert your hypothesis here. So now you're passing that context to the engine to then validate if that hypothesis was proven or disproven. And so we are also adding prompts where you dynamically insert some of your own context into them before you hit the submit, and then you get a better output, which is obviously exciting.
I think one of the things that I want to also talk about here is that last time we also talked about the assistant type. So we are trying to also improve the assistant type for you in order to make it even better. This idea of having the assistant type, which is basically you're providing a context about, yourself, your company, and basically what you're trying to achieve with the magic prompts, right? So you're going to see this getting a little bit more specialized, and we're actually like trying to help you with more predefined assistant templates. So right now you can see that we have like sales, marketing, researcher, but we are working closely with the rest of our team in order to add more customized assistant type templates. And I highly encourage you to go ahead after watching this video and create your own unique assistant type template based on who you are, based on the position that you're doing, your duties, and what's actually is your company is doing, as well as what you're trying to achieve. And you can report back to us about the difference it will make, right? Regarding the answers you will receive after you implement your custom assistant type template. We have had many users who came back to us and actually reported that they saw a huge improvement into the answers now they're receiving from the magic prompt, because the more context you provide, more examples you provide, and basically the more help and assistance you provide to magic prompt, the better answers you will receive from our AI system.
Yeah, super compelling point. It's hard to exactly quantify the improvement, but I would say just by using your own assistant type template, I've seen generally probably a 50 to even 90% increase in the quality and consistency of responses because that context is there. Definitely great recommendation. And if you're looking for support and trying to say, hey, what's the best way to set it up? Never hesitate to send us a message. We love it and are always here and happy to help on that specific point. So I did want to touch on a couple other product updates here. There was more. Our team would probably be mad and say, wow, there were so many more updates than this. Why did you only have 2 bullet points? But that's life. And they're not here today. They'll be here in the future. And so they can argue with us on all these other great little changes that they did. But one we've already touched on, which was automatically saving your prompts for use. And just one other little note, you'll now see this live in the system. This has actually been a pretty common request, which is the idea of words per minute analysis. So if you're a speaker, if you're in, whether in sales or customer, you're just trying to improve your communication in general, how quickly you speak can have an impact on that. And I know that firsthand because when I look at my words per minute, I don't think I'm in any of these calls. It's often over 200, where I should be speaking about 140, 150. And you can see that's more the traditional range that people will go on. So just a little note, I know that's just a small addition, but if you are looking for communication coaching module within Speak or just trying to monitor this as a whole, this is a great little piece and addition into the platform. Arya, do you know what your words per minute average is yet? Have you taken a look?
I'm afraid. I'm afraid to look at that. As a salesperson, I'm really afraid to look at that.
Now, we might see Arya jump off here at any moment, whether positively or I guess fortunately or unfortunately, I'll still be here and I'll close out this presentation because I'm not needed in this call. But Arya will just say goodbye when he jumps off and then I'll close everything else. I think in January, we also did this idea of what's coming next. I think we were very brief and I wouldn't say the word is abstract, but general about what's coming next. So I won't touch too much on this list because a couple of these pieces we've talked about before. What I want to actually walk through are a couple pieces that are coming very soon. And we have some examples of this within the platform itself. So one of the bigger ones is great. Now you've got all these fields here in Speak. And you need to be able to view these fields. And ideally, or most likely, you're going to want to customize the view and what's most meaningful to you versus just the default folder layout and column structure that we have. And so Saloni has done an incredible job designing this. And so I just got a couple screenshots here. I like to use the term hot off the press, where we're looking at basically how you manage your columns. There's a little icon up here, and I can click. And then I can say, hey, choose what columns to display. Arya made a big request today about dragging and dropping and reordering, which I'm a huge fan of. Working with all these analytics platforms over the years, very specific column structures that people like. So we're supporting that. You'll be able to drag and drop in the order that you want. And will also allow you to save different sets of columns. Now, in this case, right now, for the very first release, you'll be able to update this. And as long as you don't clear the cache on your browser, you will be able to come back and revisit the column display that you had set up. And then in the future, we're going to add, save, here's my default, and here's my favorite column set. Or you can have different use cases for different column sets to make Speak infinitely customizable and tailored to your needs. I'll just jump onto the last sort of view here, which is, okay, now I've got the columns ready, and you'll see now the scroll bar can activate. So you can go side to side and you can see lifetime value, which is one of the columns now added to this folder layout, which is great. And we'll also be able to make these exportable. So you can customize Speak's data into that format that you want and then export it into CSV. Any thoughts on this area?
I'm just saying it's exciting. I'm looking forward to it, and I love dragging and dropping the columns, and I don't want to see any other way
They'll just be dragging and dropping for no purpose, really. Just hanging out in the app, just
yeah.
consistently.
I was just telling Vattel that I canceled my Microsoft Game Pass subscription, so I have no video games anymore. I will be just playing with the
This is
Speak.
it. This is it. Yeah, we need to give you some how many hours you've logged in Speak managing columns. So, anyways, I know these things might seem like I don't think the word is boring because they're not boring to me. They're like very exciting. And so other people might say this is obvious, but this has been a gradual and incremental progress towards this step. And a lot of things are now compounding and coming together to make Speak be this really incredible platform for analyzing and working with your language data. Very happy to be able to share that. Another update that's coming very quickly, one of our most requested ones, is automatic speaker mapping. I will say there's a qualifier for this, is that you need to use the meeting assistant, and that meeting assistant actually needs to come through a calendar invite. So you need to sync your calendar to achieve this. But if you do, and we work with Google and Microsoft calendars, you sync that to your meeting assistant, it will join and it will automatically detect who is speaking in that call and then label that explicitly. So instead of maybe your experience in a Speak is when you upload through the platform, you get 0, 1, 2, 3. That would be 4 speakers in that instance. Now those will be named in the way that the person had joined the call, and is a much cleaner way to structure and organize that information. The conversation becomes much more clear. You can then analyze based on who was talking when, and you can then use filters to look at specific speakers, et cetera, et cetera. Anything that you want to touch on just on the automatic speaking mapping, Arya?
Just the only thing I was gonna say is that we have gotten many requests about this, right? Especially about getting the speaker's name, because every time I showed this page, they were wondering if that was automatic or not. But next time that I will be showing an example, I can confidently say that if this is from our meeting assistant, this is completely automatic. It will remove any sort of manual effort that you needed to do before.
Beautiful. Okay. This is my design, so that's my disclaimer here. But this is a very interesting and powerful conceptual framework that then will be implemented in Speak, and all the pieces are now available. So the idea here, and one of the challenges, is that you've got a bunch of survey data or even a bunch of focus groups. And so you're trying to look at that entire folder of data, and you want to run some analysis on it. And if you're to do that on the folder level right now, you're going to pull in all that information, and you're basically going to summarize and theme that, or whatever work or whatever analysis you're trying to do from the top level. And so it's going to take all of that data into it. And there's a lot of great, powerful use cases of that. Hey, let's look at my day of meetings. Let's summarize those meetings and give me a report. However, there's an explicit set of other use cases where you want to run an analysis, but you need to do it on a specific file level. So in an example that we see with teams in Speak is I'm a researcher. I want to identify themes, and we don't need to go too deep into that, but there's all these limitations on characters and stuff with these wonderful large language models. And in this case, when you run that prompt from the folder level, again, this is my design, but it will be a toggle, and you'll be able to say, instead of running on all, run this prompt on each individual file. So you could say, hey, identify the top theme from this survey, or identify the, and so that's one great use case and just improvement on that. So you can run that theme identification, and then you can look at that entire data set and say, okay, interesting. This theme emerged this many times. This theme emerged that many times. And you can see that specifically related to that file. That opens up a great range of use cases within Speak. And then the second part is you can actually map that response. As an example, you could make a field called themes or theme one, and you could say, when you run this individually on each file and then output this magic prompt, and I want you to populate that into the custom field theme. And so all of a sudden, instead of that being hidden in the magic prompt history that we had seen previously, you've explicitly mapped that into that theme, and you've got it beautifully structured. And it continues to work with this idea of spreadsheets for language data and taking this unstructured information and restructuring it in the way that you want. And as I'm explaining it, I know that it sounds a little abstract, but I'm going to keep drilling. Our team's going to keep drilling into this to hammer home just how valuable this possibility is and the amount of use cases and just power that this opens up within the system. Arya, I know you got to jump here.
Last thing I'm going to say is that happy to be here always. We're going to keep continuing doing these sessions, and probably the next one is going to be in 2 weeks. And we're going to provide more updates, more exciting things are coming. And hopefully we can also talk a little bit more about these updates that Tyler is talking about that is going to come up, and show you a live example of how you can use the magic prompt and just direct it to a custom field. Quickly want to mention that like one of the use cases that like one of our clients are mentioning right now is that they want to get the description of their meetings using this ability. So this will open in a whole lot new doors for us, and it will be very beneficial for everyone.
Beautiful. Great job here today, Arya, and great week overall. We're in February here, and it's an exciting month. So have a good one on this call, and I'll reconnect with you in a bit.
Okay, sure. Thanks, everyone, and thank you, Tyler. Goodbye.
All right, everyone. It's just you, me now, and 3 meeting assistants that probably don't need to be here. I told them I was going to kick them out at one point, but they're still here. And we're looking at this map prompts to fields concept, which I think, again, is a core piece. And just to illustrate this now, people would be mad at my brevity, but I want to just share why this is valuable and where we saw this gap here. And so say I'm in an Excel sheet. I've got all this data. Most research teams, what we're seeing they want to do is they want to look at this cancellation reason, and they want to look at what could bring you back. And previously, they would actually manually label sort of the theme that had emerged from this. So I canceled due to a lack of features for visually impaired and all these. And so they would go one by one. And you think this is okay if you've got maybe 10, 20 feedback, but if you got 5,000, 10,000, it just becomes completely unmanageable. So all these teams are trying to understand how to do this more automatically and at scale. And there's a huge blocker to do this. And it's just not really feasible in a system like Excel or Google Sheets. And so that's where this concept of spreadsheets for language data comes. And so how do then people do it? And we were basically hacking our way around to figure this out with a combination of Speak and then spreadsheets. And now with this sort of conceptual framework and this capability, once this goes live, you'll be able to do this. You can have a field called exploratory classification. And just to show just how easy that would be to set up, I can go in here and I can say exploratory classification. I can say basically, I want to identify net new themes from my data. And in this case, this would be a single line text, and I can create it. And now if I'm at the folder level, say I'm looking at a bunch of Amazon reviews, once this goes live, I could say, hey, prompt, identify the most relevant theme from this data. Only give me back the theme and nothing else in the response. I think this part is a little bit necessary to be explicit because you're really, again, trying to keep that structure in that format. So that explicit instruction is valuable. And you'll be able to then have this toggle look across those 10 media files. And instead of summarizing this at a folder level, it will then run on each individual file. And then with that other piece that we talked about where you can manage the folders, you'd actually be able to see this from a folder level and be able to then export that in different ways. You could see, okay, here's my exploratory classification. Okay, this one was poor support. This one was insufficient funds. This one was X. And be able to see that from a high level export and then quantify that in a more meaningful manner. Now, what happens is if you do that, the way the system works, it will then spit out a bunch of themes. And those themes could be very unstandardized, I guess would be a way to approach it. And so maybe you get one that is billing and account management, and then another one you get payment issues. And so you do that first run on the exploratory classification, that theme identification, and you say, hey, I actually want to standardize this and run it again. And I want to pick from these 5 themes only. I don't want any other themes. I'm now happy with the main themes. Let's put them into this. And I'm going to then rerun this analysis. So what would I do then? I go back in, I could add my fields here. I can create a field and I could go standardized theme. And I can say, this is my theme after exploratory identification. And this would also be a single line text, and I can hit create. And so now if I was to continue with this example, I would be able to select, I run prompts. I would say, hey, please analyze this feedback and select from the list of themes. And I would say, hey, here's my 5 themes. And just as an example, I'll drop this. I'll pick these 3. You need to pick one of these 3. You can drop that in. And if I hit prompt, I would hit select individually. And then I would say map to field. And we would have that same result. But instead of just selecting unstructured themes, it will pick from these 3. And now you can truly quantify the themes that are emerging across your data set with the exact references of how that works. So that is what this sort of conceptual framework that I'm showing you unlocks. And it's a truly powerful thing. We've seen so many teams struggle with this concept, struggle with this implementation. And I cannot wait to unlock this for you. I truly believe in this part. And there's a lot of great value coming from this question and asking framework that these large language models are opening. But there's more guided uses of this technology like this that I'm walking through that I just think are maybe overlooked or maybe not fully understood on how to be implemented. And so this is a way that you will be able to do it. And it's truly exciting to be able to open up that possibility for you. That brings me, I'm lonely in this room here now, to the end of this. If you want to connect with us, you can book a personalized demo. We got a little nice team shot after a holiday get together, and we've actually added some more people to the team since then. So we're growing and excited to have even more capacity to help you out. Hit that link and book a call with us anytime. We have enabled you to build plans in the way that you want, very flexible based on length, the number of hours or data that you're analyzing, the team members you have. And if you have a lot of volume or you just want a conversation, we're more than happy to help. We're trying to set it up so that you're only paying for what you need. And really, we want to see you set up for success within the platform. We care intimately about the work that we're doing, about this technology, and about enabling you to be able to accomplish the things that you want that are driving value within your organization or even your personal life, really, no matter what you're doing. There's no screenshot missing, but we are trying to expand this. Almost at 2,000 affiliates. They're making like 25% commission on every transaction. I'm paying people like hundreds, if not like thousands of dollars each month. And I love sending them that money. It makes me so happy with a smile on my face because they trusted in us. They recommended Speak because they know it's a good platform. 4.9 rating on G2, 150,000 users within the platform, and they're confidently promoting us. And whether it's a subscription or a pay-as-you-go transaction. They're making 25% commission on every single one of those. In addition, anyone that you share that link with will be getting a 10% discount on any of the premium add-ons. So a great little piece there. And I'm trying to now click through the end, but there is no ending slide. This is it. I will pull this down. I'll sit in here with my 3 meeting assistants and say, thank you so much for checking out this video. I hope you enjoyed. I hope it was educational. I hope you learned a lot. And as always, never hesitate to send us a message. We're here. We're happy to help, and we want to see you get set up for success. This is Tyler Bryden, the co-founder and CEO of Speak It. We'll be back in March with another version of What's New in Speak with some even more incredible changes. Thank you so much. Have a wonderful rest of your day. Bye-bye.